we'll have a 20-minute talk, more theoretical, talk about the most exciting, I would say, derivative of the revolution of the Bitcoin. We talk about decentralized application, a little bit about the state-of-the-art models, and afterwards we'll have a short, more informal lunch, and we'll have some drinks too. So stay tuned, and if you fall asleep, I'll wake you up in 20 minutes. Okay, so that will be my title of the talk, Mind the Gap from Nash Equilibrium towards Large-Scale Human Cooperation. And an alternative title might have been that, Humankind so many years and still haven't learned to play nicely together. And I think, fortunately, the bottom line of the talk is that perhaps, finally, we have learned how to participate and play nicely together, hopefully. So I will be discussing scalable human corporations and their game strategy. And by human corporations, I mean joint human actions of people toward a well-defined goal. Of course, game strategy is just a tactic to achieve such a successful association. And by scalable, I mean that it may work for arbitrarily large number of people. So what's the problem? So it appears that from the very dawn of history, there isn't even a single known free cooperation of large number of people. And by free, I mean that the interaction is not governed or ruled by external ruling forces such as kingdoms, governments, or religions. So why is that? So it seems that it all to be blamed on John Nash and his equilibrium. So let me briefly tell you what that means. So unfortunately, the situation, the state of non-cooperativeness is in a Nash equilibrium, which roughly means that as long as everyone do not cooperate, there is no incentive for a single player to change his strategy. And that's just a state of equilibrium. However, there is a better cooperative Nash equilibrium out there. We just need to reach it. We just need to create a critical mass of cooperating individuals to reach this equilibrium, and we need to find the way to jump this gap from non-cooperative equilibrium into cooperative equilibrium. And we call it Mind the Gap. And that's what led me to the Bitcoin that you all know and love. So these are the three pillars of Bitcoin, the public ledger, the cryptographic token, and distribution protocol. The public ledger entitled us with internal consensus, ongoingly holding an internal consensus, while as the cryptographic token and distribution protocol let us having an internal economy and reward mechanism for those people to engage and build a network. So how would you generalize from Bitcoin to any arbitrary corporation, known as decentralized application? We simply generalize those three pillars. So we generalize the public ledger, the cryptographic token, and distribution protocol. So let's watch now more closely about the decentralized application scheme. So we start, unfortunately, with a Nash equilibrium of non-cooperativeness. We would like to establish, we have some vision, we'd like to establish some application, and still immediate cooperation doesn't pay off. That's a problem. So what we do, we issue an applicative token which entitles incentive for early stage cooperation, while as the resulting service is not yet operational. And when I say applicative token, I mean that the same token that will be distributed at this stage will later on serve to operate the endpoint service that is established. So now, with that, we have to have some distribution protocol, which generally gives potential value in terms of those tokens for contributors that are aligned with the vision, arbitrary contributions. So more visionaries can join in the cooperation. They cooperate, although there is not a service yet, but they get potential value for that. Once we reach a critical mass of early adopters, we enter into the operational phase, and then we establish the Nash equilibrium of autonomous, which is autonomous and cooperative. So that's the scheme. Let me now introduce you to one of the most interesting facilitations of that scheme in the Bitcoin space today, the Lazuz initiative, which is building basically a transportation co-op. Okay, so the Zluf project is basically a marriage of two exploding trends. So one of them, of course, is the Bitcoin that you're all familiar with. So let me tell you a few words about smart transportation. Okay, so there is no need much to elaborate about the problem. So you all know and experience on a daily basis that transportation today is outdated, wasteful, and unbelievably inefficient. So generally, smart transportation solutions come to better use the already existing infrastructure and resources rather than building new ones. You can see here in the chart, you can see the investments in smart transportation solutions in $1 million. The leading one will be Uber, right on the right-hand side, which raised $1.5 billion recently. And the interesting thing to watch is that the gray area is the investment fundraised only from the last year. So you see that it's really exploding trend. However, the most exciting and promising solution up to date hasn't yet been achieved. And this is real-time ride-sharing. And we'll talk about that in more details. So the Zluf vision, besides of establishing real-time ride-sharing, is having a collaborative transportation web, just like the internet, on which any third-party application, any smart transportation solution could integrate into. So that including real-time ride-sharing, but also pre-planned carpooling, on-demand transits. These are commercial vans that drive and build their trajectories as they go along, according to users. Smart taxis, and also some old solution like public transportation, delivery system, and even freight transport. And here comes the problem. So why hasn't real-time ride-sharing been established yet? The problem is just the problem that I described generally before. In order for such a solution to fully operate, you need a critical mass of users to cooperate, to participate. But if you don't have this critical mass, then the service doesn't work. And if the service doesn't work, users will not like to use it. So there's a chicken and egg problem, and you somehow need to jump from no users to many users at once. So many other companies in the world have tried to conquer this front in many ways, so far without much success. And what we are trying to do is just that, just mind the gap, and basically build the network of users to cooperate for this ride-sharing solution before even enabling or offering any such a solution. And the way to build this network is really to introduce this token. In our case, the Zuz, the token is called Zuz, the Zuz token, which is a move in Hebrew. And already today, and we will launch that right after the talk, there will be a beta version application, Zuz mining application, which you can download, just keep in the background, nothing else, and just ride or drive. And as you drive, Zuz token will be mined into your digital wallet, and you can start gaining value. Of course, this is right now a testing phase, and we're still under development. Hopefully, to have a stable algorithms by the official launch of the crowdset in a few weeks. Okay, so with that, let me go a little bit more into details of distribution protocols. I will tell you briefly about standard protocols that so far all decentralized applications have held, and then I will offer a new protocol that the Zuz initiative uses. And hopefully we'll see more application going to that direction. So basically, the common thread of all decentralized applications so far is that all the amount of tokens in circulation, as well as the collective algorithmic reward, is predefined. Okay? So there is a control of the number of tokens in circulation in all decentralized applications. Now, the first big consequences of that is that when the project succeeds, there is more demand for its token, there is more demand for its tokens, thus the rate of the token increases, and that basically it relates demand over supply to the rate of token, and growth in adoption translates to growth in the token's rate. The good thing about that is that it entitles more value for early participants. This is sometimes called in the space a bootstrap mechanism. But also there is also some bad consequences. For example, fluctuation in demand over supply immediately translates into fluctuation of the token, as all of us experience in the Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So that goes under the name of volatility. Secondly, even without any fluctuations, just the fact that the value of the token is exponentially increasing over time introduces nominal effect. So for example, no one will ever price tag the ticket for this conference in Bitcoin. You can pay with Bitcoin, but the price tag is given in fiat money. And that's the reason. And that's a buffer for adoption. Another thing is that having a coin that its value is constantly increasing encourages storing value rather than trade it and use it. Another thing is that since all reward mechanisms are predefined, there is no direct reward, no direct way to reward general contributions, and most of the power, the working power, is kept unleashed. And finally, the same reason leads to miner adoption threshold, which is completely separated from user adoption threshold, as we just see in the Bitcoin. For example, we all know that the use adoption threshold in Bitcoin is far ahead of us, whereas miner adoption threshold is already saturated long ago. So with all this in mind, we would like to think about more generic issuance of token, more generic protocols for issuance of token, and most generally we can issue tokens with purchase or contribute or mine. Now what I call mine is a subset of contribution, but I will call mine to a algorithmic predefined contribution, just like miners in the Bitcoin, or drivers in the Zluf initiative. Okay, so due to lack of time, I won't spend much time on that, but I would just say that if we want to issue new tokens for arbitrary contribution, the only way to do that is basically having the input of the community itself. We call that weighted voting mechanism, such that for every contribution of participant in a project, for example in the Zluf project, anyone can participate. It's a completely decentralized organization. Anyone can contribute whatever he thinks would be best, and then the community can evaluate this contribution collectively and allocate new tokens to that contributor. So that goes under the name weighted voting, and for that we also need to have a weighting mechanism, which means that any contributor has a weight, or any participant in the project has a weight that weights his vote for that allocation. Similarly, there is a decentralized association structure. Again, I won't get into that. I want to jump to the next thing. I'll just mention that we have some sort of legal operation basically does manual decentralization. So until Ethereum project and other similar projects establish smart contracts on the blockchain, until then we have a way to legally enforce decentralization. Okay, so if we want to allocate an arbitrary number of tokens for development, and we do not want to limit that development, what we have to have is an economy where you really frame the number of tokens circulation at any point of time. So the most obvious suggestion you can come up with is a full peg protocol. Full peg protocol means that, for example, in Zluf we have the Zluf token, and we can peg or fix the value of Zluf token to external value in the world. For example, you can take a kilowatt hour, which is in Israel is roughly 17 cents. So the way to do that is very simply. It's very simple. If the system always agrees to issue new tokens and sell them for the price, for the rate of kilowatt hour, but also agree to buy them back for the same rate, then you completely fix the rate of those tokens to that external value. Of course, that external value in terms of other currency may change with time, but it is always attached to that value. Now, this model has no volatility whatsoever, but also it loses a lot of the added value from the Bitcoin model. For example, it loses the higher value that is gained by early adopters. And also, there is no ability to freely distribute tokens, because if you do that, then you don't have enough fund in your wallet to back them up. So what we suggest is a partial protocol, which basically achieves both things at once. So on one hand, it constrains the value of those tokens, and the value is not fully pegged. For example, here the Zluf token is not fully pegged to kilowatt hour, but it is constrained within two margins. So buying margin and selling margin, or higher and lower margins, which means that the system always agrees to issue and sell new tokens with the higher margin rate, and always agree to back them up or to refund them and buy them back in the lower margin rate. So how this is being done, for example, I can always send bitcoins to the Zluf address, and with respect to the higher margin rate, new Zluf token will be issued and sent back to me. And I can also always send those Zluf tokens back to the address. Those tokens will be burned out of circulation, and Bitcoin will be sent back to me according to the lower margin. Now, okay, we have constrained volatility, but what about the added value for early birds? So the mechanism here is that whenever new tokens are issued, some extra fraction of tokens are being issued and distributed to all those owners. It's similar to dividend mechanism, but not legally wise, and we can call it a DV. DV is a social dividend mechanism. So that accumulatively, that generates added value for participators at early stages. And there is a specific mechanism which I won't go into to how many coins are being issued for that DV. And I welcome you, by the way, afterwards all to visit our booth there, and then we can discuss in more details those mechanisms. Okay, so I still haven't told you how we fix the upper and lower margin, which are dynamical in nature. Let me just briefly tell you something about the lower margin. And basically, it's just, again, I won't go into much details, but it's just a full reserve scheme, which means that the lower margin is determined such that I have enough funds to back all Zluf tokens in the world. Because I have funds, maybe I haven't emphasized that, but whenever someone is purchasing Zluf tokens, then the bitcoins are entered a community wallet, a central wallet. Now this wallet is not owned by anyone, not developers or not founders or anyone else. This is the community wallet, and the only way to cash out funds from that wallet is by burning Zluf tokens and getting their part. But since we also distribute Zluf token for contribution, for involvement, then we have less funds in the reserve to back them all. And that's what defines the lower margin. And the upper margin is just the mirror of the lower margin with respect to the index rate. So let me just give you, and then if I can just burn one Zluf token, I just take out from this reserve fund my part, and it doesn't change the lower margin or the parts of the others. Okay, so let me just finally give you a very brief example. Here we see here a simulation of realistic scenario of adoption in a small country such as Israel. You see in the left plot, you see the Zluf tokens that are issued for development. In these cases, for miners or riders with the application. And on the right hand, you see once a critical mass of riders is established, and the ride-sharing option is enabled, and then many people would like to use this service, but then they need to purchase new Zluf tokens, and that's the right plot that you see. So you can see that with this protocol, firstly, you see that the dynamics of the upper and lower margin versus time. And the interesting thing is that indeed you see the accumulating value for early participators. The earlier you are in the system, the more you gain, but different from the Bitcoin, it's not in terms of the rate of each token, but rather in terms of the number of tokens that you have in the wallet. So that's how, and this is just the revenues for each sector. You see that the user has a negative revenue because, of course, they are using the system after it's already completed, and they are roughly in this scenario paying 20% of commission to retrospectively back the development and the adoption of this system. So let me just finalize with summarizing the partial peg mechanism. It constrains volatility while at the same time keeping higher gain for early participants. The higher gain depends on actual development and not on speculative trends. I didn't get into this part. Please ask me later in the booth. It's very interesting and very different economy from what we are familiar with. Much less volatile and more stable. It allows for allocation of reward for arbitrary contributions and no limit of development. It does tie up the adoption threshold of contributors to the adoption threshold of users. It does encourage storing value when funds are lacking in the project, but it encourages use and trade otherwise, including at late times. And finally, it keeps a tangible notion for that token, a real world value for the token, which is also reducing the nominal side effects. And to recap the Lazuz project, Lazuz tried to bring a message of cooperativeness, a solution for smart transportation to all of us to use in the very near future, but it also brings the message of decentralized collaboration as we actually work in the project, and also the message of sustainable economy. So with that, let me end. Thank you. So now, Eitan will talk a little bit about the initiative.
Hi, so my name is Eitan, and I feel privileged to be part of Lazuz project. Maybe a short bio about Lazuz for whoever haven't met us before. So we've been. Okay. Okay. So there was supposed to be a short presentation, but assuming only I can see that, so it's okay. You can see it later on. Okay. So as I said, a short bio for whoever hadn't met us before. We've been working on this project for nearly a year now. Started with a small group of people, and can you just, okay, sorry for the, yeah. Okay. So we've been working on this for nearly a year now. Started a small group. And through this, today we actually gonna show you the application that we've built through this time. It's a mining application, as Matan described, and I think it's okay. I think we can manage without that. Okay. Cool. And this, I'll elaborate shortly about this application soon, but it's a celebration, so we are serving toast now, drinks for everyone, but just hold it for a second. We want to do it all together, so don't drink it just now. Through this year, we had a very long, exciting year. We've been through several points. We've participated in several hackathons. Probably the main one of them was the hackathon, the Bitcoin 2.0 hackathon in Austin, Texas, where we won third place and got, I think, good feedbacks from the community and the support of Bit Angels. So maybe a bit of what we've been doing till now during this year. Basically, we have developed the protocol that Matan just talked about and the implementation of it. We opened the new topic just 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, in Bitcoin Talks. So you are mostly welcome to look at it and send us your feedbacks. We do look up for it. We've developed a simplified, gamified mining application, which I wanted to show you a bit on the screen, but you can just download it with your drink. There's supposed to be QR codes on your table if they were delivered, so you can scan them, and if not, then you can come to our booth and see it over there. So the mining application basically is, Ayal is going to help. Okay, never mind. Just yeah, okay. So I can't remember it by heart, and for myself I need to say that. So okay. So basically we're gonna. No, so good. Okay. So we've developed this mining application, which basically, as Matan said, all you need to do is to download it, have it run on your phone. Right now it's for Android only, and while just having it run in the background of your phone, you actually whenever you drive with the app on, you mine Zuz, the same tokens, transportation tokens that later on will be used for the services that actually are gonna run on the transportation web that Lazuz is creating. One other main thing that we're doing, and Matan was talking about shortly, is we're trying to create this tailor-made legal structure, which is so important for people that work in a field still unplowed in many ways. So we're getting the advice also tax-wise and legal-wise. Tax-wise, we are getting from EY in Israel, which became really, we feel like they're a part of our team now. So I want to thank them, and Neil Mordechai especially, that is actually, we feel like he's part of our group. And we use the MME in Switzerland to try and figure out how to do that the best way, and with Zag law company in Israel. Maybe a few words about what's up next for Lazuz. So we're trying to tighten up the proof of movement algorithms, which is basically what enables us to make Lazuz using movement as its proof of work. So this is something we are still developing and still going to work on that in the near future. The crowd sale, which we hope to open in a few weeks. Still, what holds us from that is regulation. So we hope to sell that. We're in the midst of that. So I think in a few weeks you just keep watching, and I think in a few weeks we can get over there. And of course, the ride-sharing app. The ride-sharing app, which we still haven't started yet to develop, as we are now focusing on creating the critical mass of users using the mining application, which I talk just now a bit more on that. Too many things just to talk in such a short time. So as Matan said, we have a booth, which we open it to be a comfortable place for you to come and ask us questions. So we have free beers, and just come and sit with us and ask whatever you want, and we'll be happy to tell you more. So basically what we want you to do, we want you to join us. That's the main thing that we want you to do. So there are 3 lanes, that's how we call it, the 3 lanes to join Lazuz. You can, either the first one is you can become a miner. So just download the app. If you haven't got the QR codes on your tables, you can just come to our booth and get it from there, or just look for it on the Google Play Store. Once you download the app, you become a miner, you become a weaver of the web. As we call it, you weave the web of decentralized transportation, which enables us actually to create a critical mass of users that we need in order for smart transportation solutions to run on it. Maybe 2 things that we should say about this mining application that we feel is kind of innovative and important. It's basically we bring cryptocurrency to the masses, allowing everyone who holds basically a smartphone, right now Android, but soon the iOS will go as well, to mine just as they go. So there are no more configurations of servers and whatever you need for mining. You just download the app and you're up and ready to go. And all you need to do is basically everyone can use that. Even my mom, for example, without knowing exactly what's going on, they're actually going on the cryptocurrency world, and we think it's a good thing. And also, it's basically bringing mining back to the people. So it's something that in the crypto world, which is such an important action, became something that only few, I think, can allow themselves, afford. So having a smartphone is something I think keep it on a lower level. So there are so many things also to say. So I'll just say one thing, that we have a hackathon, proof of movement hackathon in about three weeks. So just keep tuned and we'll tell you more about it later on. Welcome to our booth. And that's Shay, he's working with us as well. For me, he's a good friend, but also thanks to him, I'm in this project, so I want to thank him personally. And he's a great soul player, so we'll ask him to say some words before we have a toast. So thank you, everybody.
few years ago, a cry for change was made. People from all over the world went out to the streets to express their frustration from governing systems that no longer serve the people. Those calls haven't found a solution in the old and unresponsive systems. Simply cannot, and time has passed and the people who were involved understood that the old systems simply cannot change quickly enough to keep up in the demands we place on them. A new model must arise from the ground up, a model that will be much more responsive, a flexible model that can release humanity from survival mode and unleash its creative potential. What we are suggesting here is not an application or a protocol. We are unleashing a tool for human beings to regain control of their lives. We are starting with traffic. Everyone sitting in this hall can start changing the way traffic looks on our planet at this moment. Every single one of you can be a supernode for the formation of potential ride-sharing community in his own surrounding. The communities you start will generate Zluf tokens while going in number and distance travel. We have the interactive user map on our website. Let's follow it tomorrow and the day after and see it filled with pins for each of the countries you are going back to. Day by day, we can watch those pins grow as more and more users participate. When we get to a point in a particular region where a critical mass of users is drawing near, newspapers will start covering the phenomena of the Zluf community there. Imagine a headline like this: publicly owned transportation network gets huge traction. Dominoes will start falling one after the other, and in no time we will again be the owners of our services, and they will again serve us for the best. We have many tasks on our Trello board, but the tasks we haven't thought of are the tasks that will matter most at the end of the day. So come and join us, or become a leader in your own area of interest. I would like to propose this toast for the good intention this project started to be kept, and while getting enough traction to free the transportation in our world. L'chaim.